In the first reading today, we hear about the fact that I pleaded and the spirit of wisdom came to me, and I preferred her to scepter and throne and deemed riches all nothing compared to her, and so on. And what we have to ask ourselves is, do I really want wisdom? Not the wisdom of the world, the wisdom of God. Now, naturally, of course, we're going to say yes. But we have to understand that, as it is with everything, it comes with a cost. And it is the opposite of the way it is with the world. The wisdom of God is foolishness to those who are worldly. And so, do we want to be thought foolish? Do we want, or at least are we willing to accept the rejection that's going to come if we want the wisdom of God? The wisdom of God is Jesus Christ. We've talked about that many times. And look at our Lord. He is rejected now more than perhaps he's ever been in history. And yet, what we hear is that in the company of wisdom, all riches were given. Now, that doesn't mean silver and gold. It means the riches that our Lord talks about. Store up for yourself treasure in heaven, where neither moth nor rust can destroy, and no one can steal. It is a spiritual treasure, and it is a treasure beyond all that the earth can offer. Because all of our earthly treasures tend to bring a lot of anxiety with them. It's not the way most people would think. You think, oh, if somebody's really rich, they don't have anything to worry about. Really, that's why they build great big walls around their house. Why some of them have armed guards. It's kind of humorous. They turn their house into a prison because they have nothing to worry about. They made themselves a prisoner. To what? To money, to wealth, to materialism. Aren't they free? Don't they just have everything? Aren't they all so happy? None of them are. They all want more. They're never satisfied. And yet, look at the people who have chosen the wisdom of God. It tends to be that they often wind up with little or nothing. They live very simple lives. They're totally dependent on God. They don't worry about anything. And they're filled with joy because they have the Lord. So it tells us the money isn't going to bring us happiness. The fame isn't going to bring us happiness. Look at all those famous people. Are they happy? No. Because all that they want is more attention. What good is it going to do? You can have somebody fawn all over you right now, and 5 minutes later they're gone, and you're looking for somebody else to do it all over again. When you have the Lord, you have the Lord. 24 hours a day. He's right there with you. And even more, you're right there with Him. And that's where the peace comes from. That's where the joy comes from. That's where true fulfillment comes from. That's the beauty of all of this. Again, it is exactly the opposite of what the world holds up. And so worldly people are going to look at these folks and they'll say they're nuts. They just want to live a simple life. Oh, no, I want a mansion. They don't care if they got an old beater. Oh, I have to have the latest. I have to have the fanciest, the most expensive. They don't care if they're eating rice and beans. Oh, I have to have that $100 a pound steak, the cows that have never touched their foot on the ground. Because it's all about me. Because pleasure is the same as happiness. It's fleeting and it's gone. And the emptiness is all that remains. But if we empty ourselves of all of that other stuff, then fulfillment is what remains. Because then we have the Lord, and we don't need anything else. That's the wisdom of God. So do we really want that wisdom? Again, when we think about it and say, man, if I could be joyful, I can be fulfilled, I can be filled with the Lord, yeah, I want it. Until we go out there and they tell us, oh, here's what's going to make you happy. Has it? Do you know anybody with all that that's really happy? They're not. So if you want, go ahead, get it all. Build yourself a prison. Solitary confinement, isn't that great? But you can have armed guards making sure that your junk is all protected, because it's so important. Because without it, you can't be happy. Or you can go and look at the people who've chosen the opposite, and you will find people that are filled with joy. And you will find people who aren't worried about all these things. You will find people who have found true fulfillment. But there's only one way that we can achieve that, and that is with prayer. Because it's one thing, again, to hear about it and say, I want it, and then we go out there for the rest of the day, and we get all the opposite, and we get pulled that way. So unless we are seeking him, unless we are united with him, and even as Solomon says, that I pleaded, you have to really want it. Not, oh, that sounds pretty cool. That'd be kind of nice if I had that. That's not enough. You have to really want it, and you have to know what the cost is going to be. The more you fill up with Jesus, the less room there's going to be for all the other junk. He's going to say, let's get rid of some stuff. Are we willing to do that? Are we willing, as I asked earlier, to be thought a fool? Because the wisdom of God is foolishness in the eyes of the world. But remember, we're going to have to stand before God one day, and it also says the wisdom of the world is foolishness in the eyes of God. There are your two options. So we have to want it. We have to plead for it. We have to seek it. And that means to come before the wisdom of God and to seek him with our whole heart, to really, truly want him. It says in the Old Testament that anyone who eats of me will never hunger. Our Lord says anyone who eats of me will still hunger for more, because it's infinite. Because there's never an end. You will be completely fulfilled, and there's infinitely more. That's what God has for you. That's not what the world is offering. So we have to make a choice. We have to make a deliberate choice, and we have to really put our effort forth. And we have to really, truly want it and seek it from God. Not give it lip service. Really put our heart into it. When we truly want it, the wisdom of God will be given to us freely, and we will find everything for which we were created.